The hidden mystery of the theta brainwave is that it is the seat of your character. It is an energy pattern that collects and stores your likes, your dislikes, your fears, your love, your hopes, your dreams, every experience you have had, and every feeling you use to express yourself. In that experience is what the theta brain wave stores. It also controls all of this to help bring more to you. And it does that through the reticular activating system. Now, the theta brainwave is an energy pattern, and that brainwave energy pattern, well, it never stops. It continually loops all the information it has about you through your memories and feelings, and puts them through a loop feed 8 times faster than you are consciously aware. The theta brainwave doesn't differentiate between thoughts and feelings, or good things or bad things, or reality from fantasy. It just collects incoming information from your 5 senses and stores the information until you need it. It monitors your thoughts as it is your guidance system of your subconscious. The feelings and experiences that are most commonly imprinted on your theta is what determines and governs your life right now. Your theta brainwave works with your reticular activating system to bring about situations to you in real time, to give you an experience that allows you to express your feelings that are familiar already via the theta brainwave. The RAS controls your sleep and your waking cycles along with your fight and flight responses. So what is the reticular activating system exactly? Well, it's a neural network located in the central core of your brainstem, and it filters out unnecessary information so that the familiar information gets through to you. It's the reason why you can buy a car and suddenly you see the same model of car everywhere you turn. It's the reason why you buy yellow shoes and suddenly yellow shoes seem more common as you now notice yellow shoes more often than you ever did before. Your model car wasn't noticeable to you before you had it. And your yellow shoes, well, they were not noticeable to you before you began wearing yellow shoes. The RAS allows you to be in a noisy room and immediately pay attention to your name that you hear when strangers talk about you. The RAS does the same thing when it comes to your beliefs, what you think you truly are, because what you think through the lens of feeling, and life always exposes to you the things that reinforce those feelings that you have about yourself. Now, you can train your reticular activating system to show you new things as you take your subconscious thoughts and marry them to your conscious thoughts. But how does this happen exactly? Well, you set your intention. When you focus hard on something through intention, your desire and your want and need, your reticular activating system will reveal people and opportunities to you to help you achieve what you want. So stay with this video, please, as I will show you how to make change happen through a fun and exciting project that you can do yourself today. Now, with the reticular activating system, It brings about situations based on your feeling. So if you feel that you are not a good cook, you probably will never be a good cook. If you feel awkward talking to strangers, you probably will always be awkward talking to strangers because the reticular activating system brings people, places, and things and events to you based on what you feel about yourself. So you will continue to have your belief system about yourself until you change your mind. And how you change your mind is to change your beliefs. And how to change your beliefs? You actually need to change your mind. You can actually train your reticular activating system to show you new things. You take your subconscious thoughts and marry them to your conscious thought. We don't know our subconscious thoughts, so how does this happen? Well, it's called setting your intention. You set your intention. When you focus hard on something through intention and your desire, your wants, and your needs, you actually are engaging your reticular activating system to work for you, as this system will then reveal people and opportunities to you, but it's your responsibility to start paying attention. If you're not paying attention to your environment around you, you're still asleep and not awake, and you will miss the mark. You'll miss those opportunities that life brings to you. So to change your beliefs, you begin by changing your mind. Are you stubborn or are you open-minded? Get clear on what you really want and write it down. So, for example, if you want a new job, but you may not know how to begin setting yourself up for that new opportunity to come along, write it down. I want a new job. But be more specific. What kind of job do you want? What is it that you really want to do? And are you qualified? What skills do you need to become qualified? Are there job opportunities available for you for that specific job you want? Or do you have to go and create this job for yourself? So what do you want from a new job? That specific new job in particular. What are your expectations? Maybe you want a decent amount of pay. Maybe you want awesome hours. Maybe you want benefits. Are you looking to expand your talents? Are you looking to work in a healthy work environment? Do you want a responsible boss? Are you looking for an opportunity to advance in the company? Are you looking for a company that is family orientated and has maybe after school care or maybe even daycare? Are you looking for a company that will give you paid leave if you decide to start a family? Is this new job, are they full of excitement and growth? Meaning, are they happy about their employees? Do they treat their employees in kindness and pat each other on the back for a job well done? It's important to visualize what you want. Dream big, but not too big, that your goals are unattainable. And this is where creating a dream board can help. Visualize your goal and focus on how this will manifest in your future. Notice your feelings. Get in the moment. Immerse yourself in the future as if it is happening right now. Dare to believe that dreams can and do come true. Take in the sights and the smells and the sounds. Revisit this often. Get extremely detailed using your 5 senses, as this is imprinted on your theta wave, and when you revisit this enough, good things will come your way as you'll notice subtle changes, and then you'll notice, oh, the monumental ones. Think about this for a moment. If you can see your favorite car, if you can see items that you have in your possession all around you, how easy is it to have your reticular activating system get you to notice your ideal job? How easy is it to have your RAS get you to notice the path to your ideal future that you really want? Think on these good things regularly. You change your thought patterns. You change those negative thought patterns by instilling new positive ones, and that is what this exercise is meant to do. You think about the positive and you be joyful and grateful as you bring your feelings into this situation. You will find that you are blessed with opportunities to seize those opportunities and take control of them. But it is up to you to seize those opportunities and take control of your life. How you live is always up to you. Trauma happens, unfortunately, to all of us, all of the time. We are negatively affected by trauma, and the unique thing about trauma is we all deal with it differently, even though we are capable of expressing the same emotions and feelings. Because trauma is so common, we do not realize that the symptoms of trauma are elevated to the point that they become habit. What becomes habit in us becomes our lifestyle. It is said that habits form with repeated behavior consistently expressed over a period of 20 to 30 days. So what about our thoughts? The things we tell ourselves are based on feelings and hidden emotions, and we ruminate on our thoughts in a habitual pattern, as we also ruminate on our thoughts subconsciously. The things we say and do without thinking are said to be autonomic or involuntary, and this is how we become instinctual in our character because of the habits that we form. And this is true for both positive and negative thought patterns that are manifested from trauma. Trauma becomes so instinctual that it shows up as symptoms behaviorally, emotionally, and physically. Events that cause trauma, well, there are too many to mention, but I will just mention a few. The death of a loved one can cause trauma. Illness can cause trauma. Abortion causes trauma. Surgery can cause trauma. Bullying causes trauma. Having a miscarriage causes trauma. Spousal abuse, either physical or emotional, causes trauma. Child abuse and neglect causes childhood trauma. Job loss causes trauma. Foreclosure causes trauma. Financial loss. Pregnancy and cheating, substance abuse. A pandemic can cause trauma. Lying causes trauma. Self-harm is traumatizing. Governmental abuse is traumatizing. Suicide and terrorism causes trauma. The reactions that we express to help us with these adverse events are what is actually defined as trauma. We express negative coping mechanisms in the form of depression, anxiety, anger, fear, sadness, helplessness, hopelessness, doubt, rage, loneliness, anxiousness, weariness. The trauma is what brings about change in us. But because it's negative events, those negative events cause negative change, which causes trauma, a long-term side effect for witnessing and experiencing negative effects. Trauma unknowingly uproots the old ways of living in us and forces us to have to do something new. But we don't do something new because these patterns subconsciously in our thoughts and actions have formed habits. We revert and continue these habits. For those of us who have had a history of trauma, new situations bring up old emotions. Repeated negative events can help us become aware of old habits and those emotional patterns, but we need to start paying attention. When you get sick and tired of being sick and tired, you will then begin to embrace the uncomfortable by standing in front of it and facing those fears. This is how personal change happens, when we no longer are intimidated by the fear that we feel. This is when we can overcome our fears. But unfortunately, repeated patterns need to keep going and going and going and going until we see that they are repeating and repeating and repeating and repeating. Groundhog's Day doesn't stop until you see that there is a lesson to be found in that repetition. So learning about yourself is about making mistakes. So make those mistakes. Be yourself and go with the learning process. Your behavior is your responsibility. If you want life to change, you have to start by changing yourself. Life gives back to you what you feel you are, not what you want. Life is a reflection of you. As life is reflecting you back to you. Ever wonder why the narcissist gets what they want in life? Well, how trauma works for you works for them also. Their theta brainwave works with their reticulated activating system too. They notice in life what they notice in life. Life gives to them what they are, traumatized and weakness. We who are traumatized and weak notice them as they notice us. The difference is the narcissist cannot change. They destroy all who are around them because this is what they want. They don't want love. They want to destroy it. Their lives are manipulations of who they think they are. Their lives are manifestations of who they truly are. Apathetic, lost souls. You cannot fix them. You can only fix yourself. You want change, you have to make change happen. It's okay if you do not know what to do. With the information that you have been given so far within this presentation, can you see where you need to make some changes in your life? Yes? No? Not quite? Extensive research has been done on the link to physiological symptoms of disease and all forms of trauma, beginning with childhood trauma. These studies make it all that much more important for those of us who suffer from childhood trauma, to treat our emotional and physical symptoms not with medication and toxic chemicals, but with self-care, holistic practices that help to reinforce a secure mental and emotional health system that de-escalates trauma by reinforcing positive self-esteem. Understanding that trauma is permanently within our memory, it is also important to deal with it by recognizing the symptoms of trauma. When the symptoms of trauma are not addressed, they form habitual behaviors that the body monitors as instinct. Because we are not mindful of our thinking habits and our daily actions of habit, we are running on autopilot, believing that we are the way that we are and we can't change. Clinicians have discovered that there are common factors that go along with the habits induced by trauma. They lead us into our daily habitual routines. They are the thoughts we think about. Anxiety, fear, PTSD, dependency, helplessness are all a part of the daily grind of rinse and repeat habitual behavior. Releasing yourself of the pain from the memory of trauma is called detachment. What you repeat, you either ignore or you allow. So, to recognize these repeated patterns so that you can change them, step 1, get honest with yourself. Step 2, notice the repeated patterns. Getting honest with yourself is to take responsibility by saying, how am I contributing to the breakdown of this conversation or the breakdown of this relationship? Notice those repeated patterns that you finally see. Look at your past and say to yourself, this stuff I have done before, and here are the situations that I remember that remind me of what is happening to me now. Step 3, learn to change your feelings in negative situations. You ask yourself, how can I do better? What can I change? Even in a minute level, what can I do to change the situation to make it beneficial for both myself and the other person? Adverse childhood effects, also called ACE. This is a clinical label used by clinicians to express negative experiences that we have had during the first 18 years of our life. As these negative experiences increase in the home, the likelihood of physical effects in the body is also likely to increase and manifest in childhood. These chronic illnesses and diseases include cancer, diabetes, rheumatoid arthritis, anxiety, depression, fibromyalgia, heart attacks, arthritis, stroke, and many other diseases such as hyperactivity, lupus, teeth problems, eye problems, hearing problems, alopecia, paralysis, rashes, gastrointestinal problems, muscle spasms, various forms of cancers, eating disorders, weak bones, osteoporosis, and also osteoarthritis, dizziness, vertigo, clumsiness, headaches, chronic pain, and yes, even asthma. Extensive research has been done on the link to physiological symptoms of disease and all forms of trauma, beginning with childhood trauma. Clinicians have discovered that there are common factors that go along with the habits induced by trauma. They lead us into our daily habitual routines. They are the thoughts we think about. The anxiety, the fear, the PTSD, the codependency, the helplessness. These are all a part of the daily grind of rinse and repeat in habitual behavior. Adverse childhood experiences, or ACE, I've included a list as studies are linked to negative health effects from having childhood trauma. And this is a wonderful website to go to, acestoohigh.com, where you can find articles and information on specific health problems to help you understand if you are struggling in your own trauma and pain. Now, everyone reacts to trauma differently. That is why not everyone experiences the same symptoms or the severity of symptoms. Most health issues can be traced back to childhood trauma. Again, cancers, arthritis, degenerative bone diseases, heart and health diseases, lung issues, eye and teeth issues. The list is extremely long. How does one heal themselves from childhood trauma, and why should we? Childhood trauma causes painful side effects in adulthood. As adults, it is important to help ourselves so that we can help others and help the younger generations, our children specifically, so that they don't repeat this cycle of abuse on themselves and each other. It's about love, my friends. We love ourselves, we love one another to stop this cycle of abuse. Releasing yourself of the pain of trauma is called detachment. Practicing detachment allows you to observe a troubling situation without having any emotional investment attached. When dealing with a narcissist, we do this by going gray rock. How this is achieved is simply avoiding emotional contact with the toxic individual. You give the person no emotional feedback in attempts to avoid them from triggering you or you supplying them with any emotional fuel that they need. Have you heard of the term water off the duck's back? Feathers are waterproof and they easily bead water when the duck is immersed in water. The duck easily shakes off the water because the duck actually applies oil to its feathers in daily preening practices. When we show no emotional feedback to someone who is toxic and who likes to expose our trauma for all the world to see, this actually sets the individual off balance and leaves them with no ammunition to use against us. When they have nothing to use against us that would form a judgment against us, they have nothing to say and they have nothing to do. So they will become a little bit agitated, so stand your guard, but eventually they will find another outlet without first trying to goad us and provoke us. If we stay steadfast and hang on to that rigid boundary of going gray rock, of showing them no emotion, they will eventually leave us alone. And this is what eventually happens when we go gray rock to our own emotional baggage. The emotion of negativity actually starts to lessen and dissipate. Practicing detachment is a lot easier than what you might think. You already do it in your own home with the things that you have furnished your home with. So how to practice detachment is fairly easy. It's simply by noticing the things around your home that you are emotionally attached to. Notice the things around your home that you are not emotionally attached to. This is practicing self-awareness. Which items belong to you and which items don't belong to you, and which items are you sharing with other people in your home. Notice how the items that belong to you, you are obviously more attached to them than the other items in your home. Usually the items closest to our hearts hold what we call sentimental value. The items that you hold dear to you, I would like you to ask yourself this question. Do you have them put away, or are they out in the open for you to observe on a day-to-day basis? Most often, the sentimental things that are put away, we're not as attached to them as the things that are out in the open. So notice this with the things that you find value. Notice how the things that you have put away, you don't think about them unless you are provoked to do so. You already practice detachment with the items that you own. When you are mindful of your emotional attachments to your belongings, the easier it is to understand what detachment actually is. When you are not using the items that belong to you, you are semi-detached or semi-attached because you don't want to part with them, regardless if you are not aware of the item that you're attached to. So let's follow this thought a little bit further. What items that are sentimental to you that are out in the open, would you ever consider putting these things away in storage? What are your feelings associated with your sentimental items? What are your memories exactly? How are your feelings different from the things you cherish that are put away as opposed to those items that you have on display? The items that we have become attached to have sentimental value, that's for sure. And I want to share with you a reason why that maybe you haven't yet considered. Because some of those sentimental values or those reasons for sentimentality have some hidden feelings because of hidden attachment issues of our past through childhood trauma. These traumatic events have caused us to feel certain things that we are not yet ready to face. These feelings of abandonment and rejection. We minimize those feelings that we truly have no memory of, but there's feelings attached. And we can't associate the feelings because we don't recall the memory. So what happens is by associating the bad feelings with an item that we enjoy, somebody that we feel fond of, we attach a bad feeling of our past to some good memory in the here and now, or some person, place, or thing in the here and now. What ends up happening is we romanticize and value the historical trauma of the past without even recognizing exactly what it is we are doing. We attach good memories to bad feelings to help make those bad feelings go away. But what ends up happening is we create an inability to let go of the past as we form an unhealthy attachment bond to the items of worth that hold emotional value. Is this making sense to you? Let's just digress a little bit further. Becoming fully detached from an item you own means this. It means that you no longer miss the absence of that item, even if you no longer have it or you use it. What items that are sentimental to you, are they still out in the open? Have they been put away in storage? Would you now consider giving these sentimental items away once you deal with those feelings that you have attached to these items? Are your feelings different now than what they were then? Now that you are considering giving away certain items, as opposed to just putting these away in storage, what are you really feeling? Are you still feeling fear? How are you still emotionally attached to these items, and would you ever consider just letting them go? Recognizing your emotional attachment allows you to process feelings in real time as you learn to let go and be okay with letting go. When we struggle to let go, the pain is then projected onto ourselves as we depreciate ourselves, as we assume that because we were abandoned, we will somehow end up abandoning ourselves. Now, this is just something for you to consider. This isn't something that you are consciously aware of. This is deep-rooted historical trauma here, as I've explained earlier in the video, of where this abandonment feeling comes from. Are you willing to expand on this further and just allow me to just dig deep with this concept a little bit longer? Thank you so very much. Now, I'd like to suggest to you that you already practice detachment with the things that you've been given, or you've given away, or you've sold them. But there's still things that you do linger on to, so instead of putting those sentimental things away in storage, consider just taking something that means something to you and giving it away. What do you have to lose? What will it cost you to do something just spontaneous like that? How does it feel different to give away your items to a stranger than to someone you love and care about? And are you feeling remorseful? Like, would you feel remorseful after giving these items away? Sometimes this happens. We often feel buyer's remorse when we buy a new car or a new house or something of extreme value. We often feel like we shouldn't have done that. Maybe we made a mistake. Maybe we really can't afford to do that. So what are your feelings behind this giving away remorse? Write it down and really dissect your feelings. How have your feelings subsided after you've given these items away? How are you now in a position to really just let it go emotionally? You notice that emotional attachment you are in control of. Now, when you are ready to let these items go, it's most often because you feel safe and trust yourself. You trust your judgment. You trust yourself to know that you will not forget the memory that you're hanging on to. And you also trust yourself that you won't abandon the love that you have given these items or given this person. The more in control of you that you really are, the less these negative feelings have control over you. And this is a huge milestone. So well done. When we were infants, we cried for many things. Our parents at times decided to just let us cry it out. They thought that was teaching us independence, and it was, but sometimes it instead taught us when we had a need that no one would come to help. And this taught us not to ask when we should be asking, but instead we suffered when we shouldn't be suffering. This also taught us that just because we cry, solutions are not always given. So instead, in our alone time, we cried to soothe our pain, as we cried to soothe the silence in our pain. Our cries created feelings with no memory of someone else attached or belonging in that memory. Our memories are of us being alone, and our feelings are not just having feelings of being alone, but needing people in that aloneness. So when help should arrive for us, most oftentimes it didn't. And with no memory of someone attached to that feeling, we suffered in silence. That is, until we could make our own memories with our friends and family and things. We unknowingly attached our feelings of abandonment, aloneness, and fear to items that were given to us in real time, in our adulthood, in our conscious moments. We attached our feelings to things we acquired in a relationship with ourselves or with other people. And this, we created a sentimentality to help keep their memory and our memory alive when they weren't around. Is this making sense to you? If it is, then we are ready to continue to step forward. It's time to give your feelings the honor that they deserve and put your feelings in the past where they belong. Now, I'm going to share with you an exercise that will help you to associate your emotions. Those are the historical feelings, which are the foundational feelings of your current feelings. We're going to express those and address them with positive things and positive feelings that you hold dear to you. It's time to lift that burden and learn to detach yourself from old feelings that keep you down, feeling helpless and hopeless. Your negative feelings are telling you that you endured and witnessed something very tragic in your life. But you haven't been paying attention because you didn't know how to pay attention. You expected other people to pay attention to you to help you with these feelings because that is the way that it has always been done, as this was the way of your starting point when you were born. People attended to your feelings. Now, your feelings are telling you, as they are now screaming at you, I wasn't expecting this. I am in shock here, person. Help! Somebody, anybody make me feel better. This shock and awe is painful to my soul. Now, you were led by this and didn't know what your feelings were actually trying to say to you. You assumed that your feelings were speaking to other people. Now, this exercise that I am excited to share with you will validate your feelings and help lessen the strength of these negative feelings, as this will help you live in peace and tranquility. As the shock lessens and as the pain dissipates, the more liberated and the more at peace you will feel. Shock and awe causes us to abandon ourselves. The people that we were before the problem happened, it's familiar territory, as abandonment is what we all face. Fear validates that abandonment. It dictates, fear dictates that we are not good enough until you fix the problem. But how do you fix the problem? And fear dictates, well, if you can't fix the problem, then you're never going to be good enough. So just stop trying. And fear sends you a little bit of reinforcement to prevent you from trying. a car accident, an illness, a broken arm, a financial crisis. And this is all because fear is all we have ever known. How do we ever learn to get through these crises without using fear? For us, it's impossible. We can't. We know nothing else until now. See, fear stunts and stymies our creativity. This is certainly said for childhood trauma. There's no dreaming of the impossible dream and dreaming with hopes and desires, as there's no creativity to speak of once fear takes hold after negative events happen. A child who is traumatized is doomed and becomes a problem child, and a problem child becomes an insolent adult. You may notice that you have some feelings you probably do not have memory of, and that's okay. It's time to give your feelings the attention that they deserve, and the more you bring attention to your feelings and memories, you will find that your common feelings are attached to most situations you endure. It's important in this exercise to remember that you don't have to mention all of your feelings. It's kind of impossible to do just that. So let's just validate those strong feelings and attend to them to lessen their shock value. Are you ready to do this with me? Because I'd like us to make a feeling board. I put this chart together based on the concept of a dream board. The concept of a dream board is to give your future goals a boost of motivation by writing them down in creative aspects that become important to you. This helps engage your activating reticular system, those neurons in your brainstem, to draw things to you which are on your mind. With a dream board, excitement and having fun is the key as you cut, draw, color, and paste your way to goal setting to envision how you want your future life to look like. When you are having fun doing something that you love, you evoke positive feelings and positive intentions. We mentioned intention setting earlier on in this video. What you think about frequently is drawn to you, and a dream board helps your conscious change your subconscious mind. What you think about and give it feeling, you are actually setting the intention to have that feeling come back to you, regardless if it's good or bad. This is why creating a feeling board will help you to lessen negative feelings, to make room for positive thought, so you can start drawing to yourself life's peace and pleasantries instead of chaos and unpleasant things that cause discord in your life. So what I'm sharing with you in this feeling board is only a diagram. You can make your feeling chart or your feeling board as colorful and as elaborate as you want to make it. This is your time. This is your place. This is your safety net, so you can make it exactly as how you want to make it. You may be an adult or a youth. It doesn't matter. Tap into your inner youth, your inner child, and get creative to have fun with this. Enjoy getting creative, as there is nothing wrong with exploring that side of you. Now, this can be a great method to help children also cope with their own feelings that they cannot yet describe or understand. This concept is also inspired by someone who gave me the suggestion of a feeling wheel to help children label their feelings instead of acting them out. So for this, lesson, I'd like us to concentrate on the middle portion of this feeling board. When you design your board, design it with 3 overlapping circles. As you see here, I used the title, I Am Love, based on the scripture, 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verses 4 through 8. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. It does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes. Love always perseveres. Love never fails. Now, this is God's character, and this is exactly how Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior, treats us. And this is how we are to treat ourselves, as we are to treat others as we treat ourselves, as this is the first and second commandment. Love your Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength, with all your mind. And the second commandment is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. So where these 2 circles touch, that is who you are. This big circle right here, you are love. And you are actually meant to embrace both portions of each circle, the bad and the good. You unknowingly are in control of both the good and bad, as these 2 circles represent your feelings. The one side represents your past negative feelings, and the other side represents your future positive feelings, which together create a holistic balance, a yin and yang. Now, in the negative feeling circle, please write down at least 4 major negative feelings. Here I have sad, anxiousness, abandonment, and unworthiness. Now, these feelings are feelings that you have felt in your past that you have been aware of. Now, dissecting this further, I want to clarify these feelings. And here in this example, I am going to share with you some personal detail of myself to show you how this feeling board can actually work for you. Are you ready? Now, I'm going to give you a few examples as I've expanded in these arrows here. But I'd like you to actually try to expand in every area of this feeling board. I just didn't have room to do so. Okay? So let me share with you this example, as sharing with you will help you understand how to go about and create your own feeling board for yourself. Looking at the feeling of sadness, I recalled some memory of moments of sadness for myself. And these moments were when I was playing by myself, when my mom and dad were fighting, and also I felt sad breaking my favorite toy. Now, these for me have significant memories attached, but I didn't share them with you for the lack of room. But I did expand on my mom and dad fighting, and I'll share that with you in just a moment. So playing by myself, well, how did that make me feel sad? Well, for one thing, it was boring, and I missed my friends, and I felt alone. Now, breaking my favorite toy, well, this had me feel like I had lost ownership, as I attached myself to a favorite toy. I held sentimental value to that toy. In fact, it was a toy that was given to me by my birth family that I brought into my foster family, and it broke. And it was broken by somebody on purpose, and it caused me to feel unloved as I attached memories of my birth sister to this toy. It was the only thing that I had in my life to attach me to my family. And when it broke, I felt a deep loss. Exploring how my mom and dad fighting made me feel sad, well, it caused confusion in me because I was a foster child and I didn't have an attachment of love to my foster parents. So for me, it caused me to feel unbalanced and insecure and unsafe in my home when they weren't around, because I didn't know if they were ever coming back. And this caused me to think about a feeling how you might feel. In general, kids feel a loss for both of their parents. Now, love is not mean, so how can two people hate each other and love each other at the same time? Fighting brings instability to the family, and it can bring violence through verbal and physical abuse. And this is what causes childhood trauma, such as PTSD. Now, I didn't explain this, so let me just backtrack. When my mom and dad fought, they didn't fight in front of us. And the memory that I speak about, that I really have ingrained in my memory, is that I felt confused because one of those fights caused my mom to tell my dad she wanted a divorce. So I felt that, okay, if one of my parents is leaving the home, they're not coming back, are they? Where am I going to go? So that's just something to think about if you are a child who is struggling because you're a product of the foster care system, or maybe you lived with your aunt or your grandparents instead of your mom and dad full time. How did transitioning from one home to the other really make you feel? Expand on that. So going to the feeling of anxiousness, I felt anxious when my mom and dad went on holiday, when I was left alone, and when I failed my tests at school. Expanding on when mom and dad went on holiday, well, I didn't necessarily miss them, but I missed their presence as they were my foster family. So when they left, I wasn't sure if they were coming back. I felt alone and afraid and unprotected. When I was left alone, I felt anxious because I felt not wanted. I didn't understand the moments why I was left alone. And I felt anxious when I failed my tests because I felt like a failure. Well, I felt like a failure because failure in my situation was all I've ever known. I didn't have the encouragement of parents or any loved one to encourage me to keep going, to learn for myself. Following the feelings of abandonment, this was a difficult one to address, but easy for me to see. I felt abandoned when my foster parents went on holiday. Now, you're going to find that your feelings will overlap, and this signals a strong connection, forming a strong bond of sentimentality or an attachment bond to something in your current life. So you see here that when my mom and dad went on holiday, I did feel anxious, but I also felt abandoned when they went on holiday. So expanding on that, I felt like they didn't need me. I felt obviously abandoned and I felt rejection. Expanding on that further, well, children are attached to people as this is their source of nurturing and comfort. If that nurturing and comfort is taken away or changes slightly, the child notices and they may not be ready in natural maturity to handle that change. Some treat mom and dad's vacation as a great loss as they suffer from separation anxiety. Now you might not always have something to think of right away when it comes to giving some afterthoughts concerning your feelings. So I would just like to revisit something because sometimes you may have to go back and revisit your feelings a few times before you can really formulate a thought or a memory and draw out the feeling from that memory. I was never given encouragement by my parents, so I felt anxious when I failed my test because I did feel like a failure and I took that as my fault as I was responsible for failing my test because I really didn't study. But yet I wasn't responsible because there was a reason why I didn't study and there was a reason why I didn't pay attention in school. See, when a child isn't given encouragement by their parents or parent, then how is a child supposed to formulate the mindset to stand in courage and just go ahead and do something on their own initiative and be motivated to try? There has to be a motivation to try. And for me, I didn't have that because my foster parents and my parents, my birth parents, certainly didn't pay attention to me. Was this you too, perhaps? Where in your life did you not receive the motivation from your parents and you failed at things? What situations were they not supportive of you and championed for your success? Wow, you guys, I have to say that this is some really deep stuff coming out of me here as I'm sharing with you. I'm seeing how these feelings so far that I've shared with you have directed my life from my youth even up until now, where I'm stymied in my decision making as I don't feel motivated to move forward and make changes happen in my life. I can see moments upon self-reflection where I have been frozen, not frozen in fear, but frozen because I was demotivated. We are not always stuck because of fear. Sometimes we are stuck in life for other reasons, and we need to give ourselves a chance to figure that out. This for me is massive information as it is massive for you. So please take advantage of making this feeling diagram for you, as this is good stuff right here. And thank you for allowing me to share. Now, talk this out as you make your feeling board. Hear your voice speak and be open to receiving godly inspired insight. Moving on to the feelings of abandonment, I felt abandoned when my parents went on holiday, as their absence reinforced feelings I already knew. I felt like they didn't need me. I felt abandoned. I felt rejected. Yes, we already went through this, but sometimes you might want to go through it again to expand on it. And expanding on abandonment, well, abandonment just doesn't happen. And abandonment causes us to feel many different things. Children are not the same. We are not the same. So where one child may feel rejected and abandonment may cause another child to feel these things, but also to feel afraid and feel apprehensive to trust people. Children are attached to people as parents, and other people are a source of nurturing and comfort for them. If that nurturing and comforting nature is taken away or changes even slightly, the child does feel this and take notice. Many parents say, oh, children are resilient. Children will bounce back. No, children actually absorb and they take in the negativity and they harbor that and hold that in. And those negative feelings become feelings of expression for children. So when you have an emo child or a depressed child or a child who is acting out in temper tantrums, really take notice because there's some hidden feelings that are not positive. Obviously, there's some hidden negative feelings attached to that. Turning to the feelings of unworthiness, I'd like to expand on this. As I felt unworthy when my sister was given singing lessons and I wasn't. I felt unimportant, I felt rejected, I felt invalidated. And there is a huge reason why. As my sister was given singing lessons, and I literally was not allowed to participate in singing lessons. My foster family had an odd dynamic with me. See, when my sister and I were kids, anything my sister wanted to do, I had to do. I had to enter into swimming. I had to enter into organ lessons. I had to enter into gymnastics and skating. And when she no longer wanted to do these things, well, I was pulled out of these things too. I liked gymnastics. I liked swimming. I liked skating. But I didn't like my organ lessons. My sister excelled at organ. I hated it. I was forced to sit at that organ, that music box, that piano-like apparatus and play drills and learn music theory. I was not interested and I was stuck. I was so obstinate and so were my parents. I tried to pretend to practice. And my parents, well, they were very determined to see that I would practice correctly and stay congruent with my lessons. They never gave in. They never saw that I was trying to misbehave on purpose so that they would say, okay, Shannon doesn't like organ, so we'll take her out. No, my sister wanted to participate in organ, so I had to as well, regardless if I wanted to or not. That was torture. And to me, I will say that was abusive, as I wasn't allowed to expand my own mind and my creativity. This actually stymied my creativity and stymied my own voice, as I never was able to stand up for myself. So when my sister decided that she wanted to play piano lessons instead and take singing lessons while she took piano, that was a different story. As I was not allowed to take singing lessons, but I took piano lessons. See, the piano teacher and the singing teacher were one and the same. Now, there is a huge reason why my sister wanted to quit organ after 5 years. I think a lot of it had to do with me and our growing sibling rivalry. Now, sharing this with you for me has opened a door as to why I personally have been shy my whole life about many things. As I mentioned, not standing up for myself, not allowing myself to expand my creativity, but also I have been shy about singing and playing the organ, and now I understand why I hated it. I didn't hate it. I wasn't invested, and there is a difference. I didn't invest my time and energy into organ because I assumed that I would just start liking it and my sister would want to quit. So I didn't try. And I'm going to assume now that probably with our growing sibling rivalry, that me not trying motivated her to excel because this was finally something she was good at, that finally she surpassed me in. See, I was athletic, she wasn't. So the athleticism in the family, I excelled at. I wanted to do swimming. I loved acrobats. I loved jazz and dance class, and I enjoyed skating as well. But these things my sister didn't excel at, so she abandoned them, and I was forced to abandon them also. I really did like organ, but I didn't invest my own energy. I was demotivated because this was something that I had always known right from my birth family into my foster home. Why get attached to people, places, and things when you're just going to have them snatched out from underneath you anyway? And that's what I thought with organ. So I convinced myself I hated it. I was not allowed to pursue what I wanted to pursue, and singing was the only thing that I did not get involved with alongside my sister. Why? Well, there are reasons. And this singing lesson deal was hers and hers alone. But as a slap in my face, I had to sit through her lessons and observe them, even though I wasn't allowed to participate. Now, this had lasting effects as I developed a shyness, and I do still to this day find it difficult to sing in front of others, even my own children. Now, I love to sing, but after an incident at organ class, that was it. I sealed my fate with my sister. See, in organ class, my music teacher formed a band with her students in the music academy. And at the end of the year, we would have a competition with other music academies within the city. Our lead singer in our personal band had such a strong voice, a powerful voice. She was beautiful and awesome, and I admired her voice. And when the lead singer did not show up for band practice one day because she had a cold, I was asked to stand in. And when the lead singer did not show up for practice one day because she had caught a cold, I was asked by my music teacher to stand in. My music teacher picked me. Even though I didn't have a strong voice, my music teacher said that I had a great voice. I remember looking at my sister, and that was it. Hate separated us, and there was no way I was going to be given lessons now to sing. When my sister got her singing lessons, I was then on my own. I suppressed my voice, and even still to this day, I have hidden feelings that cause me to quiver and shake when I'm in front of people singing. I felt unworthy not being able to shine my voice and through song. But that wasn't the only time I felt unworthy. I felt unworthy when my parents didn't show up for my rehearsals. I felt unrecognized. It made me feel like my parents didn't really care about me. They showed up for my sister's recitals and rehearsals and other things that my sister had going on in her life, but my foster parents didn't show up for me. I was an afterthought, not a priority, as I wasn't their child. And I can see now why in my adulthood, my friendships, including romantic relationships, have followed the same theme of me always being an afterthought, not someone's priority. I also felt unworthy when I lost my pet goldfish. Well, I never had a goldfish when I was young. I had a cat, and well, it was my sister's cat, but it was also a family cat. And when my cat went missing, I felt abandoned and I felt like the cat ran away because of me. Now, there's a story behind this, and with me sharing my many details of my past history with you already, I think you are getting the idea of how to search your thoughts and memories along with your feelings to write it down. You can do this. You control your thoughts and feelings. They don't control you. So I'd like to expand on this insight just for a moment because friendships with animals is a bonding connection between people, especially children. Death is not easy for kids to understand, and there is a disconnect, a misunderstanding about loss when kids experience loss for the first time. The best bonds we make are with animals. They teach us many things about ourselves. Growing up with the childhood pet, well, they become family as they teach us unconditional love. Now that you have an idea of how the feeling board works, even though I shared with you a small example, I'd like to encourage you to really expand on each example that you make for both the negative feelings and the positive feelings. I did this randomly as I didn't have the space to expand on each feeling and memory. Try your best to elaborate on each idea as this will help you to understand and recognize those overlapping feelings. And just a reminder that your feelings will overlap each other. And that's okay. That just shows you that there is a sentimental feeling attached. And that's okay. Now, your feelings are probably different than mine, or maybe not so much, but I encourage you to make this your own. You might be resentful or jealous. Make a list of words from a feeling list available on the internet. And remember, be as specific as you can. You don't have to just label 4 feelings. I just did this for example, but you can label 3, 5, 10, or even 20 if you want to. Now, let's take a look at the positive feelings, shall we? Because this is just as interesting as taking a look at the negative feelings. In the circle opposite of the negative feelings label it as positive feelings and add your feelings that are positive. Here I have love, happy, grateful, and peace. Let us look at each feeling and associate those feelings to events that we can look forward to in our future. How does it look to you? I feel love when my dog or cat greets me at the door. Following this arrow, we can expand on this as it feels good to be missed, as it makes me feel needed and wanted. I feel love when I have my friends and family around me. I feel safe. Expanding on this feeling, well, there is safety in numbers, my friends, and having friends and family around allows love and joy to flourish. Aside from the family ups and downs, the togetherness is what one feels as one's heart connects to another. Isn't that awesome? Feeling loved from your friends and family is a feeling worth fighting for. I feel love when my child gives me a hug. Oh, it does feel nice to be needed from our children. Loving your child allows you to grow and take on challenges for them that you never thought you could. And so, in doing for them, you are actually doing for yourself because you are growing. The next feeling is I feel happy when my family is safe. I am blessed, I am happy, I am content. Again, some feelings will overlap, and this is a good thing. We want overlap as our heart center connects spiritually to empathy. This will be monumental when taking these feelings and applying them to the feelings of the past that I will discuss later on. I feel happy when my friends are with me. It's nice to be needed. I feel happy when I can pay my bills. It feels good to have what I want, and creating another arrow to expand on this, you can elaborate a little bit more because it feels good to be independent and not rely on someone other than God to meet your needs. Relying on someone who can't pay their own bills is an exercise in futility, and it causes trauma, as it is trauma inducing, and it produces an environment of unpredictability. I feel happy that I can pay my bills because I am confident and self-assured. It feels good to have what I need and a little bit extra on the side. I'm glad to feel the stability, and with that stability, I feel grateful. I feel gratitude when I am given help. When I'm given help, I am cared for, I am nurtured, and this reinforces hope. Expanding on this, we see that caring and nurturing lead to a grateful heart. This is often paid forward in acts of kindness. When one feels a sense of belonging, they have a sense of direction and are grateful for where they have been, and they can see their direction in life and see where they are going. I feel grateful when I am thought of. That makes me feel like I am appreciated. When others are helpful to help me, or when others are helped through me, this allows me to feel grateful as I have a sense of purpose. I feel peace when my family is safe. When they are safe, I am content. I am satisfied. I am whole. Expanding on this, you might feel that the family allows you to feel connected. There's a sense of togetherness with family, as there is unconditional love that is felt when together or not. I feel peace when I am at home and I am comfortable. I am grateful. Now, this thought overlaps the thoughts that we already mentioned. I feel peaceful when it has been a good day. I feel blessed. Good days are what we all look forward to, don't we? The feeling that everything went right during the day is how peace is enjoyed. The purpose of this feeling board was to show that negative and positive feelings are necessary. They are necessary to maintain a healthy balance in character. There needs to be a healthy balance, as positive feelings cannot exist without having some negative feelings. Trauma causes an unhealthy balance, as more negative feelings are generated, creating an unbalanced character and unbalanced behavioral mannerisms. We cannot get rid of negative feelings, nor should we want to. We can only dissipate their power by addressing them with love. When we lend our negative feelings to empathy, we can then better understand objectively and release self-pity and honor the trauma with forgiveness and love, according to 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verses 4 through 8. So I wanted to share some hidden insight with you, some detail into the mindset of where negative feelings come from and where positive feelings come from. Negative feelings are from the childlike mind. The feelings of the past form the childlike mind to fight or run away. The child by nature is creative, as they are a creative thinker. They seek pleasure for the moment. They do not, as they cannot, comprehend future events. Children are reactive and they communicate poorly, wouldn't you agree? When bad things happen, the child doesn't know how to properly feel and work out their feelings in rationality, as their immaturity of believing in fantasy and reality combined gives them a slant, a curvature of what reality really is. This thought process alters their traumatizing events for them, but it doesn't make those traumatizing events go away. No one prepares us for traumatic events. There's not a school to point out that, oh, if you jump off a cliff that's too high, you're going to get hurt or even come to your demise. No one teaches us to prepare for trauma. It just happens and we are caught off guard. No one teaches us that if we go skydiving, we could land the wrong way and break an ankle. No one tells us that if we drive our vehicles that are not meant for off-roading, that we're going to break an axle. But what if we could prepare ourselves and our children better to not allow negative events to impact us so negatively? This course will help you to do just that in another video. This feeling board is enough to help you now. Should you feel you need to pause and take a break from this course, I'm always here if you need. Trauma reinforces the child's inability to grow for themselves, courage and self-assuredness or self-confidence. Now, bad events bring about trauma. Feelings stop the child from growing in that superhero mindset that they already have. Trauma actually says, no, son, you can't do everything because you can't be everything. Where's your superhero powers to stop this event now? Because you have no superpowers, my child, you're helpless and you're nothing. You're not so great as you thought you were. Trauma is damaging to a child's psyche and their mindset. Now, the feelings of positivity of the future can help form the adult mind. The adult is a creative thinker, but also a practical one. They are analytical in thought, as the adult seeks pleasure for the moment too, but also considers long-term goals. Adults very rarely think of immediate consequence, as they too are reactive and responsive, just like a child. But adults communicate, although differently, they still communicate somewhat poorly. Acting out in positive feelings allows the adult to rekindle the childlike superhero qualities in maturity and self-growth. It's kind of like saying, look, Ma, no hands when you're riding a bike and you take your hands off the handlebars. Practicing detachment is marrying your child and adult minds together. The childlike mind is more critical and the adult mind is actually more analytical. Using the adult mind to analyze the critical mind is what helps to heal the childhood trauma through detaching oneself from the feelings that are the cause of limiting beliefs. Practicing detachment distances yourself from the negative feelings by integrating them, by understanding them first. By giving the negative feelings a chance to have a voice, by covering them with mercy and compassion, this allows you to marry the child and the adult to where you become one. Negative feelings that are in full control is living in a divided house, to which Jesus himself says that a divided house cannot stand. Detachment allows you to be emotionally less invested or non-committal emotionally as you go gray rock to your negative feelings. Forgiveness allows you to let go and act as if the trauma never happened. What you carry is far more valuable than the feeling. You carry experience, and that is what validates you, not your feelings, not your pain. So let's go back to this feeling board for just a moment, as I'd like us to revisit the negative side for just a minute. Revisit each negative feeling and give an example of how these negative situations have taught you something positive about yourself. How would you handle each situation knowing the love that you have within you that you're capable of now? For example, how can I show love and compassion to my children if I took a trip without them? My mom and dad took a trip and went on holiday without me, and this made me feel anxious as I felt alone and afraid, unprotected. Well, we know that children do suffer from separation anxiety, so me as a mother, how can I put my child's mind at ease? How can I lessen their separation and anxiety and show up for them like my parents did not show up for me? I could prepare them months in advance leading up to the trip. I could have a babysitter stay the night while I and the children's dad stay in a tent in the backyard. And then we could progress to taking a hotel room for a night and then for a few nights more. Another example that I shared with you is that I felt sad when I played by myself. Playing by myself has taught me how to connect with my thoughts. I'm a deep thinker by nature, and I am in touch with my feelings, as you know from this feeling board. I know myself, or I know myself much better than I did, because being alone didn't distract me. I wasn't distracted with social media and social groups at school. Being alone taught me how to express myself on paper. When I write, I don't feel alone. My words keep me company as I imagine you, my audience, keeping me company as well, as I imagine my words keep you company also. So let's share another example. Ooh. Let's revisit my sister and those singing lessons. Do we really want to do that? Do I have to? Yes. When you don't want to do something, take the time to just give yourself a pause. Revisit this later, but do not dismiss it. Do not allow yourself to ignore the progress that you are making. Really encourage and feel motivated by doing this feeling board. You don't have to do the steps all at once, but make sure your progress is sequential. This was a hard one for me. I felt unworthy when my sister was given singing lessons and I wasn't. This stifled my free spirit and still does to this day. I am so shy when it comes to singing. It's been helpful as I do not do things I am not comfortable with, but I cling to my shyness in uncomfortability. I cling to my shyness in dangerous situations, such as with a narcissist. Some people can know me for years and they'll never know I have a funny side to me. I'll never crack a joke with them. And it's because I don't feel comfortable and trust them to share that portion of myself with them. And the positive thing is about all this is that I am also learning to forgive and let go as I'm learning to see the value of singing. It's not just about hearing a voice in song. It's about sharing your heart through song. I was so scared to share my heart in song, and it turns out that that has been a good thing because not everyone should have access to your heart. Only you should have access to your heart. And I didn't allow myself to have access to my heart because I prevented myself from singing all those years. So, what do you think? Is making a feeling board something that you would like to try? It's actually quite fun. It's quite therapeutic. It's quite liberating, and it is fascinating and exciting to see what you come up with. So feel free to share yours with us as I will post your feeling board to my YouTube channel if you'd like. You may give someone some ideas and be inspiring for them, as your feeling board may help them to create their own. So send your pics of your boards in email at Shannongilmour at protonmail.com. Your feelings are your own. Remember, your feelings do not own you. You can make better judgments and decisions by allowing yourself to accept the past. Don't hang on to it. You can let go of the trauma through acceptance, and little by little, each day, forgiveness will cover you. Look at your feeling board often. Enjoy it. Look at the creativity. Look at the feelings. Look at the scenarios behind the feelings and revisit those old memories, because the more often you revisit those old memories with these feelings attached, the less these feelings become intrusive, the less uninviting these feelings are, the less these feelings have control over you. You are welcome to allow yourself to talk out your trauma. When you're doing this board, when you're revisiting it, you can talk to yourself and use your audible voice, as this allows you to expel some of this hidden energy and get it out of your body and get it out of your soul and release it. Talk to God about these feelings. Make your words audible, as God will help heal you as you learn how to communicate and ask God for feedback. Talk, write your story down in poetry form. Write down your feelings of your trauma in song, in prose, in short story, fiction, nonfiction. Just allow your feelings to be written on the page. Sing them out if you want to. Allow your feelings to be told by you. Doing this allows you to tell your side of the story instead of reliving the side of the story trauma dictates. Understand that you are not your trauma, and the trauma you endured can be used to help you become better and see life from a different perspective than most. Trauma is meant to make us bitter. It's meant to make us jaded, but instead we have the power to turn it around, as trauma can make us more sympathetic, empathetic, and understanding to the needs of those who are still hurting and do not yet know how to move forward in their own pain, and we help them by helping ourselves first. Trauma is meant to cause us confusion, but instead, trauma can give us clarity, as our perspectives can help lead, direct, and guide ourselves as well as others, specifically our children and loved ones, to discover their greatness in their truth and find their path of greatness in this life. So your feelings are not your own. But remember, your feelings, they don't own you. You can make better decisions and judgments based on allowing yourself to accept the past. And just remember that trauma, as much as it is bad, you can turn the bad things around just by adding a different perspective. So how can this information in this presentation help you heal and live a more promising future? With this information, how can you make changes to personally change your life so far? So in this presentation, you have learned how to recognize your trauma. You learned where it comes from, as you have also learned how to distance yourself away from your trauma through practicing emotional detachment. Have I done what I set out to do in this course for you? If you have comments, questions, or suggestions, or if you want to share your story with me and need someone to talk to, my email is always here for you to use. Shannongilmour@protonmail.com. Through this presentation, you have discovered how to transcend your trauma by allowing yourself the validation and recognition of why it is you feel the things that you do. My name is Shannongilmour, and I am hopeful that this presentation has given you some much needed insight and direction on how you can come to an end to your childhood pain leading to trauma and adult health issues. But we're not done. There's still more to be looked at in further chapters. But by understanding your pain, you can now uproot those limiting beliefs because you, my dear lovely, you deserve to live in freedom because you are not your trauma. You are God's son or daughter, and you are meant to live in freedom. He who sets you free, you are free indeed. Jesus sets you free. No one else has authority over you, not even your feelings. So again, if you have questions, comments, and suggestions, find me at this following address, shannongilmour@protonmail.com. This whiteboard presentation will lead you to other whiteboard presentations in this e-course, and they will be available to download at my sister channel. And you will be able to download the 30-page copy of this e-course as well to read at your own pace. So thank you for watching, and please let me know what you think by leaving a comment below. Blessings to you on your healing journey.